vehicle that's doing the observing is lacking in. They're attracted to those things. But it's a mechanism that was set up in vehicles to do that, so that as they had offspring, they would constantly be trying to better the genes, because they would be attracted to individuals that maybe had more refined features, or what humans would call better looking features in this area or that one. And that was the mechanism that was intended for them to have, so that they would be attracted to combinations that would have offspring that would be improving genetically. And that not only goes to physical things, but it goes to other things as well. Now let's take what that does, though, to you as a class in conquering these vehicles. Humans also say that they like someone or they love someone by what they feel towards them. Like if they are attracted to them for one reason or another. They might be attracted to them because they enjoy pity. Like someone might be attracted to someone who requires an awful lot of attention, because what they like to do is show an awful lot of attention. But what you've got to be sure is that you care for each member of the next level in equal proportion. Like we know for a fact that some of you still care more for certain classmates than you do for other classmates. In other words, if your vehicle finds less difficulty in getting along with certain individuals, then you could categorize that and say, you could lump it in a way to say, well, I can get along with them better, or I like them better. And unconsciously you care for them more. But individuals that your vehicle has more difficulty getting along with, you make the terrible mistake of caring for them less, which is not the way of the next level. First of all, the way of the next level is to not let the vehicle have any tinting or any influence upon the judgment. Not let your vehicle, not let my vehicle. Not let anything that your vehicle can do or say or appear to do or say or emanate color my judgment. And not let my vehicle color my judgment. So if my vehicle doesn't color my judgment, and your vehicle can't color my judgment, then my judgment is objective. And the only way it could be objective would be, a result of its being objective would mean I would care for all equally. Can you understand that? I would care for all equally. And sometimes we feel like we, even as your teachers, have to remind you that we care for each of you equally. Absolutely equally. And we care for you because of what you are trying to do and because you love only the next level. We don't care for you because your hair is green or you're skinny or you're always sweet-talking or we don't care any of those things. They have no bearing on our caring. None of that has any bearing on our caring. What we care is because you are aspiring to pass this test. You are aspiring to complete the task that you came here to do. And you wouldn't have put in this amount of time in it if you didn't intend to complete it and get back with a passing grade. And we care for you even when you perform badly. We care for you even when you weaken. But we don't care more for you then, or less for you then. It doesn't change. Humans change. They care more for you when you're nice and you're productive, and you're cooperative, and you're easy to get along with. And they don't care for you if you aren't in those categories. So we want you to be sure that you don't have any lingering qualities that would cause you to so-called like certain of your classmates, and others you're tolerant of. I mean, if you can even use those words, then something is still very wrong. If those feelings can even come into your brain, then something is wrong. You've got to learn that this so-called, what the humans call love, it's like a couple goes out and they get married, and they're just, they're madly in love. What it really amounts to is their genes, they have found that they're both weak in the areas that each other have. And so they're strongly lusting for each other physically. And so they're in love, so to speak. And that lasts until it wears off. And it doesn't take long for that to wear off. And in the society that they live today, then as soon as it wears off, they then start hunting for someone else. That the ignorance of the circumstance will permit them a period of so-called love. Do you follow what we're saying? The ignorance is what permits it. Now, remember, that is human at its essence. And remember that the next level planned it that way for a reason, for human vehicles to respond that way. But your task is to be sure that you stay rid of those responses at all times. Not only from your vehicle, but your vehicle's response to other vehicles. And there's not a member of the next level that doesn't have the only significant kind of caring, and that is caring for those who have only one desire, and that is to serve the next level, and to become more and more and as fast as they can like other members of the next level, and to have the characteristics of the next level and caring. So there's really no excuse at this point for any of your classmates or any of you at any time to have more positive caring for some of your classmates and less positive caring for others. And if your vehicle still occasionally thinks that Lynx has feelings like that, you have never known us. You have never known us. And you don't know us now, because we have no feelings like that. And it would be ridiculously beneath us to have such feelings as that. And we want it to be ridiculously beneath you to have such feelings as that. To wish that you could be in a certain craft where there were more people that like you, so that craft is more compatible. Do you follow what we're saying? Did I make that sentence clear? There shouldn't be any individuals that you get along better with than others. Because I'm sorry, there's not one of you that is free from the difficulties that others have to deal with. Not one of you that is free from them. But on the other hand, you should all have them under control. Absolutely under control, so that no one has difficulty dealing with you. Usually when you're having difficulty dealing with certain individuals, it's only one reason, and that's what's in you is causing you to have difficulty with other individuals. It has to be what you do not have control of that would cause that. Do you understand that? Now, I know we've talked about this many times before, but we have been reminded a few times lately that the class needs to remind themselves what caring should be and what the right kind of caring is, and that anything else is human and is inappropriate. You want to say something?
I think what you ought to keep in mind, if you do have someone that you enjoy working with because they don't cause any friction with you, it can be one of two things. Either they're doing what you want them to do, or you're both following procedure very well. Now, if you're both following procedure very well, then that's great. That's good to feel that way, to be able to work with someone. But if you're doing it because if you like working with that person because he or she allows you to do it the way you want to do it, then there's something wrong with you.
And you should question what is it that makes me more comfortable working with this individual? Is it because they let me kind of they kind of go along with me and let me make decisions, and they, as a check partner, they go along with me, and we call that harmonious? Because if that's the reason it's a harmonious situation, it's a wrong reason. If it's harmonious because we both have only one aim, and that is totally following procedure, then that's a good harmony. That's a good harmony. But you need to constantly be aware of both the positive and the negative. Why is this a positive with this individual? Why is this a negative with this individual? Am I getting my way? Or is it negative because they won't give me my way? They won't let me see procedure through my eyes. That's the reason we have check partners on everything, because we don't want you to trust that you know procedure, not one of you. But do trust that if I want to do procedure and I have a check partner who wants to do procedure, that we jointly will arrive at, as close to possible, the correct procedure. But if I have in my mind what the procedure is and it differs from what they have in their mind, then there's conflict there. My first feeling should be, I must have a distorted view of procedure. Or I've got an axe to grind here, rather than really desiring to work out, investigating what is the proper procedure here.
There's also an attitude sometimes that if you get up on the wrong side of the bed, we'll use that as an example. Hopefully no one does, but let's say that feeling of like you've gotten up on the wrong side of the bed, and no matter what anybody does, it isn't right. I don't know if you have that kind of, hopefully nobody has that kind of feeling anymore, because we hope that you're past that, but it could come across that way. You know what I'm saying? Let's take, for instance, when new people join your craft. Somehow or another, in the human world, the people who start on a new task immediately have to let everybody know that that isn't the way they do it. This is how we did it at such and such a place where I used to work. That is one of the worst human characteristics that you can have. So, and the best thing you can do is want to know how you are doing, how everyone is doing it in this craft. And if it differs, then you don't question how they do it, but at the time you're doing it, but you later research it, check it out to see if the procedure is correct. And if it is, then you need to adjust your programming. And even a note could be sent to Satellite 3 people, and they could, to check out your findings, state what you have found out. Then if they can handle it, then they handle it. If they can't, then it goes to leave.
But this process please talk about would be no excuse for conflict.
In other words, that's how impersonal you have to be. You don't want to make waves. You don't want to say, well, that's not the way we do it here. In other words, or that's not the way we did it over at Northcraft or Retreat or Southcraft. And you don't want to have to say, well, this is how we do it here. Because that's being just as ugly as they are, you know. So the best thing to do is go along with the crew that you're working with. There's only one time that we ask you not to go along with somebody. You know what it is? When it's affecting security or can cause damage of some sort. And otherwise there's no harm in going along with somebody.
Knowing that the two of you, because of a single desire, the same desire of doing what's right, will search out what is correct if there seems to be a difference.
But you don't let it stop with that. In other words, you get by for the moment in the most peaceful way that you can. Then, as soon as you have accomplished what you want to do, if you feel like it is not right, then you need to follow up on it and see that it is corrected. Can you see? And you have the
Or
process.
checked to see whether you are right or...
In other words, you check out the book to see if you have the procedure right, like it might be a procedure in this craft. And let's use the knife craft as an example. Knife craft as an example. If they may be doing it in the North Craft, the procedure may have never gotten over to the South Craft, or vice versa. And so we try to run both crafts as close together as possible. But at times we find that some instructions never don't get to both crafts. This is how we keep them up to date, by individuals changing from craft to craft. Will let us know that a procedure that's in effect in one craft isn't in effect here. And we can get it worked out. But you don't stand in the lab and argue with somebody about a procedure. If somebody is being affected by a procedure, it is not, and they are the strongest party in the crew there, then back off. Let them have it. Let them go along with the way they want to do it for that one time. That is, unless it doesn't cause damage or puts anyone in trouble of any kind. Then as soon as you complete that experiment, check it out. And then let us know. But then that person who is highly opinionated about it and demanding that he's right or she's right, then she ought to question herself, because nobody should be that strong where they feel like what they're doing is so right and everybody else is wrong. If one person questions you, it ought to ring an alarm system in your head, because then you should stop and say, maybe I'm not doing it right. Why would they question me if I'm not doing it, if I was doing it totally right?
Let's take the little, like once someone said in the book here, I know what it was. There was a retreat, a group here at retreat, and we said to them, why haven't you picked some flowers? And there were so many flowers out there, and they said, well, we noticed in the book, or someone said who had been on Link's crew, or retreat crew, that Lynx liked only liked the flowers before they became full. Okay, now to let you in on how that happened is one time at retreat for some time we weren't getting any flowers, and we said, aren't there any flowers? And they said, not right now, except some that are just almost only buds. And we said, well, it'll be okay. Buds are nice. We like buds. But that got changed, turned around to what Lynx likes buds over full blossomed flowers. Now, the reason I'm bringing that up is if every one of you have experienced more than once distortion of instructions. Every one of you have experienced more than once misinterpreting instructions. Therefore, not one of you has reason to stand on any firm ground in saying, I know this was what was intended for instruction. But you do have a procedure on how to check it out. And we want you constantly keeping that mechanism working, because instructions can, over a period of time, distort and change so that they aren't resembling what they were intended to resemble when they were given. So it's by being thrown into circumstances where those instructions have to be surfaced again that that experience is used as an opportunity to get back on the track of what that intended instruction was. And that's the way it will always be. And so just don't approach any circumstance on feeling like, well, I remember very clearly that this was the intended instruction on this particular thing. And someone else says, well, I remember very clearly that it was this, because none of you remember very clearly. And plus, we know how instructions can distort. You can be so well-meaning, and you can sit there and listen to the best of your capacity and write it down just backwards. And you've all done it many, many times. So knowing that, there's no reason to ever have or to stand with unyielding demand that I know what the instruction should be. There's no reason for it. This is just a way of when trouble comes from a circumstance like that, it's because some individual was looking for an excuse for trouble. Unconsciously looking for an excuse for trouble. Because there's no reason for trouble to be present. We like for your crafts to be pleasant. We like for them to be happy without being careless. We like for your environment to be really pleasant and cooperative without being careless. You know why I keep throwing in without being careless? Because you can be so pleasant at times that you're not really caring whether you're going by the letter of things or zeroing in on the particulars, that you can just be a little flippant sometimes in a desire to be pleasant. Do you follow what we're saying? So even though we want you to be very, very happy and pleasant in your environments and your craft, it still has to be linked with care and careful desire to make it right. But that careful desire to make it right is never an excuse for turning the mood into unpleasantness. Okay? Okay. So I think we're through.